Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are not porn related. Why? Quite simple. I have a new microphone, as I said back a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm proceeding to test it all out with all sorts of things. And what better way to test out a new microphone than with a good old-fashioned live read of something I hate? Deconstructions. We all know how much I do enjoy a good deconstruction once in a while, but sometimes writers and fanfic writers tend to take it a little bit too far. They try to apply real-world connotations to things that really don't need them. Or it doesn't work within their universe. They seem to want to try to apply real life to places where real life don't apply. Like, try to say, well, in the real world, Superman would do these. When, in the real world, Superman wouldn't be able to fly anyway. It doesn't exactly make sense sometimes. Now, I know I've written my own deconstruction, but after a while, it became a reconstruction of fantasy tropes and more focusing on the pony stuff rather than Micah's crap. So, I've decided to test out the new microphone by reading a deconstruction of my comfort anime, Dragon Ball Z. So, without further ado, sit back and relax as we here at the Treeberry Memorial Library are proud to present Digruntled by Evil Fuzzy number 9. Enjoy. Digruntled by Evil Fuzzy number 9. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. That's not a screen name. That's a description of some sort of creature. And why do I feel like I've known that name before? Oh, that's why. He wrote, I'm not going through puberty again. An actually good fic that the reader is not going to have to feel like he's going to suffer. Okay, then. Well, to quote one of my favorite comedy movies, well, we all make mistakes. And even he admits that going through puberty was his good fic. So, I have no regrets. Son Goku was not a good husband, not in any conventional sense of the phrase. As a father, he was passable. Not terrible, despite what you might say, but hardly the exemplar of what a dutiful and devoted patriarch should be. He took no care or concern for his family's material needs, having himself grown off the land with zero notion of taxes or salary or formal education. At this, I have to laugh, considering that in Dragon Ball Super we see Goku taking care and actually doing some farming. Shining racist, by the way. But ignoring that, why does everybody forget Chi-Chi is a freaking princess? And that her dad's a king? Dang, and this brings up a complaint I had with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, where Bulma was complaining about Vegeta getting a job. Bulma, you are rich. You do not need a job. You can use your dad's money to pay for whatever you want. Chi-Chi, you are in the same boat. But then again, I had to sit back and ask the same question I did when I see these jokes. Girls, why not get off your lazy asses and you get a job? Yeah, I know this is supposed to be a callback to Japanese ways of thinking, but since I'm a southern-born, down-home, idiotic American, I had to ask, why not you get a job? Stay-at-home dads are a thing. How about you go get a job? How about you do some work? Because, you don't have to worry about working as a woman. Those times are gone. Long gone. Women working and mothers working is not a horrible thing. Money meant little to Goku. As a child, if he had been hungry, he'd just hunt something down or gather edible plants. Not to mention, who's gonna put taxes on where you live, now that I think about it? You live on freaking Mount Paozu. Does anybody really notice? Would anybody really notice? Now that I think about it, you have a capsule house. You bought that thing. With Zenny. Who cares? Not to mention Chi-Chi. Like, you are a capable fighter. Why don't you do some hunting? Because there's plenty of food out there. Tons. Until he met Bulma, Goku lived like a primitive woodsman from some bygone age, subsisting in the wild by his own craft and cunning, taking no thought of the world outside. He didn't really understand the concept of money itself, or of economy, or the formalized systematic exchange of goods and services. Coins and paper currency was acted like a barter substitute, a theoretical unit of capital that could be exchanged for something real at a later date. And again, this money shouldn't really be a problem for somebody who's a freaking princess. In itself, this wasn't completely a flaw. As the same could be said of many people. Few really understood the principles beyond economic systems in which their worldly lives were founded, but still, most of these people apparently played along. They got jobs, earned paychecks, they paid for what they needed, and feeding back into the cycle of endless consumption. Goku was more intransigent, however. For the longest time, he resisted the idea of getting a job, of working for a living, of supporting his family the same way virtually any other person in the modern world would. Again, Chi-Chi, why don't you ask Goku to teach you how to fly, and you get a job? For sure, Mount Paozu was in the middle of nowhere. For all intents and purposes, especially the earlier days of their marriage, Goku and Chi-Chi had been much isolated from the rest of the world, and he'd been able to survive mostly on just game and forage if he wanted to. Goku favored the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and at first, Chi-Chi has also been enamored of the idea. In the early years of their life together, viewing it as something fanciful and romantic, it was just the two of them making their way just the same as their most distant ancestors might have. It was a pure, simple way of living that Chi-Chi had hitherto known, and for a time it satisfied her to live thus. Although, to be fair, of the two between Chi-Chi and Bulma, the one that I could see most that would not want to get a job because it wouldn't be tradition would be Chi-Chi. Because I can imagine Chi-Chi would think it would be disgraceful for a mother or a wife to get a job. Horrible. Just horrible. How dare a woman get a job? With just the two of them in a broad mountain wilderness to draw their sustenance, it had been a very low upkeep, low impact lifestyle. Even with his own rapacious appetite, Goku could feed the both of them with relatively little work. Nature's bounty was at their fingertips, and their home was newly built. Again, capsule. Why do people forget this is a technologically advanced society? As he was just happy to be with her husband, when the man she had long dreamed of was her beloved, and Goku seemed to show little particular affection if he rarely seemed to treat her as a woman and his wife. Did Chi-Chi have once considered it part of his charm? That he never kissed her was a little off-putting, maybe, but at first she supposed him to be simply shy of intimacy. This was a cute characteristic in his own way, and love-struck mind had romanticized it to be something quite apart from the objective truth. You know, the thing is, I can so totally see Chi-Chi being so traditional and being so held up in tradition that she believes that women should not be the one to initiate the kiss. It should be the man. Oh, and by the way, to people who are trying to explain the joke about, oh, Goku didn't know what kissing was on Dragon Ball Super, or had no idea and he never kissed Chi-Chi, I want to direct you to something special that you should know. To those of you who want to complain, bring your head closer to your microphone. That's it. Bring your ears closer to the headsets. It is a joke. You are supposed to laugh at Goku's idiocy. Grow a funny bone. And second of all, Goku probably didn't even know what to call it. He probably didn't even realize it was called kissing. He is that much of an idiot. But Goku showed some intelligence on the end of Dragon Ball. No, he didn't. He still thought marriage was something you would eat. And he only agreed to it because he realized he made a promise. And he wasn't smart on Dragon Ball Z either. Don't try it. No. Just no. I will provide examples of why you are wrong and how Goku's still a moron. So just, no. Just don't try it. And what's more, you had to ask, why doesn't Chi-Chi kiss Goku? Again, this woman's very traditional. Honestly, the first year or two of their marriage for Chi-Chi had been sustained by fantasy. She was a sweet girl. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't finish that sentence. We're talking about the same girl who almost beheaded Master Roshi, decapitated the T-Rex, and has this tendency to explode into random bouts of anger. You call that sweet? Asking little and giving much. Even as he demonstrated from the first a certain steel of fire and disappointment, he nonetheless loves Goku dearly. But time wore all things down, and without reinforcement, the honeymoon bliss soon faded. It was an inevitable thing for all couples that the initial merest delight of another's presence would diminish, that the simulation of being near each other would fade from this excitation. Until things cooled and they were forced to establish a more subdued, but lasting kind of relationship. Less outwardly passionate, but more stable, more enduring. For Chi-Chi, the definite end of the honeymoon, so to speak, probably came from when she got pregnant. Although she had always wanted to be a mother, and while she took better to pregnancy than some might, she still experienced the increasing discomfort, bouts of seeming illness, the aches and soreness, mounting limitation of mobility. She had everything she had believed a dutiful housewife to be. For Goku, she had gone to great lengths to draw the man into the requested marital intimacies. Maybe she should have first begun to tell something was off around Nan, for how different and bemused Goku had been in their first solicitations. Hey, if anybody could please direct me to a lemon fic where Chi-Chi teaches Goku how to have sex, I'll be forever grateful. Probably better than reading this crap. Chi-Chi was a very traditional sort of woman. Tell me about it. A very conservative and family-oriented soul. You forgot, bitchy. So's parental favoritism a lot. Part of that character meant reserving the greatest of carnal desires for marriage, saving herself for the man she would marry, even as she hoped to save it for her. On that end, at least, Goku seemed to meet her expectations. He had obviously been a virgin the first time. He had absolutely no idea what he was supposed to do. Chi-Chi didn't hold that against him. She had likewise been fairly innocent of such things, knowing about sex mostly from a brief, vague, and hesitant instruction by her father. They worked it out together, she and Goku. She and Goku for a second there, I thought, I'm sorry, my mind goes to bad places sometimes. And not the most convincingly enjoyable experience, still it was a long and fond memory for her. Their awkward and unskilled meeting had seemed a very fine thing. In the moment. Even if Goku had been clumsy and sometimes too rough, she was very sore afterwards, but she felt very satisfied, if emotionally more than physically. It wasn't the last time they had sex. They were married, a newlywed couple living alone together in a remote corner of the world, dozens of miles from the nearest meaningful settlement. Apart from the needs of survival, which could be handled in relatively small amounts of time, and domestic upkeep, they had most of the time to spend as they seemed fit. Even with the long hours Goku spent training, Chi-Chi was still able to get him to share a respectable number of encounters with her. That's another thing, Chi-Chi. Why don't you spend time with Goku training? You already showed yourself to be a martial artist. You already shown that you are a good fighter. You already showed that you can train. So why don't you go out and train with Goku? Yeah. I know. But according to Akira Toriyama, Goku's line of dialogue refers to Chi-Chi's explanation is, but the world's all peaceful and stuff. Come on, Chi-Chi. You cannot be that naively stupid to believe that just because Goku kicked Piccolo's ass, that meant there was no other villains out there for Goku to fight. But he was always the one to initiate it. Goku never even seemed to think about sex unless he brought it up. And even then, he never approached it with any clear, particular enthusiasm. He was in and out with little care, and Chi-Chi had to constantly teach him what to do. The intercourse was never exciting, as a worldly person deemed it. Frankly, they had sex with all the creativity and abandoned the Puritans. Chi-Chi was not a very liberal woman, and while she had her desires, she indulged them only when she felt like it was appropriate. It did not hold much with dirty or illicit sexual acts. Again, Chi-Chi, train with your husband. My God, I feel like a marriage counselor would bitch slap you and go, "You moron! Go, train with your husband. Do something that he likes for once in a while, instead of being demanding all the time." Almost one might say that the two of them view sex more as a duty or obligation than anything else. Goku rarely thought about it. He just wasn't interested in the way he was interested in training. They weren't a very physically affectionate couple, not if you count some filler. At least not in a sexual sense. Goku was easygoing and quick to make friends, but he was a very intimate person. He didn't confide in others. He didn't seek or desire bodily closeness. If it weren't for his merry ways and smiling demeanor, Chi-Chi might have called her husband more remote or aloof. In a way, he still was. The process of disillusionment was slow at first. As said prior, it was when she was pregnant with Gohan that Chi-Chi first began to fear that something wasn't right with her marriage. Goku seemed, initially, to have no concept of childbirth or what pregnancy was. When Chi-Chi told him the first good news, he simply stared blankly. What do you expect? Not in the sense he was frozen with impregnable joy, or a sudden overwhelming uncertainty. He quite plainly simply had been uncomprehending. News had meant nothing to him. Having to explain to her own husband what pregnancy was, when she herself was a person fairly shy of such talk, had perhaps been her first moment of real, significant frustration with him since their wedding. Chi-Chi, do you think maybe basing your whole entire love life on a first come, first service ideology where you just basically ask the guy to marry you at the first sight just because he did something kind for you might have been a bad idea? For a fic that's supposed to be deconstructing Chi-Chi, Goku's relationship with Chi-Chi, I'm certainly doing a deconstruction of Chi-Chi hard, aren't I? In that discussion, Chi-Chi was, for the first time, disabused of her fantasies about Goku, of the carefully constructed excuses for why he was the way he was. She could find reasons for why he didn't know what pregnancy was, sure, but this felt wrong in a way that hadn't touched her before. This was a grown man, a man who fought terrible enemies and saved the world from destruction. This was her husband, the man she had spent years of her adolescence dreaming about, idealizing and romanticizing. And there's your first problem, Chi-Chi. And even the first resentment that proceeded from her fruitless wait for Goku's return seemed small and childish next to her newfound dismay. It wasn't just that he didn't know where babies come from, although that by itself was hard to excuse, but also how flippantly he received the news, or how difficult it was for her to make him understand what it would mean for them. Again, what do you expect? He only had a year of teaching. God, Chi-Chi, are you this dense? Goku took care of her when she was pregnant. He did all that was in his ability, all that he could conceive of as his duty. But there was something in the way he did that left a bitter taste in Chi-Chi's mouth. There was a vague immaturity, an unconcern or lack of investment. Really, just a complete disconnect between his mood and situation. He acted no differently from usual. The idea of being a father seemed to mean nothing to him. He wondered aloud if their son would be strong. Chi-Chi had corrected him by saying the child might well be a daughter. In response, Goku shrugged and wondered if their daughter would be strong. Hell yeah, good job, Goku! Actually, from focusing on both son and daughter, that's actually pretty good of you, Goku. I'm proud. This bothered Chi-Chi, and there goes the dynamite. Very nearly, the first thing Goku pondered, once he had hammered in the fact that he was going to be a father, was how good of a fighter their kid would be. After seeing his fight against Piccolo and the Tensei Budokai, Chi-Chi had been deeply disturbed. She was nearly made a widow before she even had a chance to get married. The fight had done much to sour her on martial arts. Although she'd be only seen as a means of an end, at that time, a way to make her seemingly fateless fiancé pay for his necklaces. But witnessing the sort of fighting Goku did, the kind of opponents he dealt with, it scared her. Chi-Chi, if you knew that, if you saw that, then why did you continue to pursue marriage? I mean, we all know why. I think the editors forced Akira Toriyama to get Goku married to Chi-Chi. Even though Akira Toriyama does not like Chi-Chi. Oh yeah. He said it. I don't remember what interview he said it in, but Akira Toriyama does not like Chi-Chi. At all. But, Chi-Chi, do you ever think that maybe Goku also fell for you because you also demonstrated yourself to be a fighter? And maybe you should have kept that up? Because you knew what was going to happen? You knew what type of husband you were marrying? Maybe you should have done that? Yeah, I'm not blaming Goku here. I'm blaming you. This is all on you, Chi-Chi. You knew he was a fighter. You knew he was a martial artist. You knew what type of life he led. Lois Lane knows what type of life Superman leads. And she's okay with this. MJ is okay with this. When they got married. And no comments about one moment in time will just be disavowed, thrown out with the rest of Joe Quesada's bad ideas. Alright, this is something you have to accept. Marriage is all about equality, acceptance, and learning to support one another. It's a two-way street, Chi-Chi. She loved him, in spite of everything. On some levels, he feared that if he returned to fighting, his luck would fall and he would die. She knew about the Dragon Balls, of course. Goku had told her once, laughing unconcernedly when she vented those fears upon him. I'm kind of with Goku on this. To quote Tien, we are literally waiting to come back. Next, he could just whistle him back to life if he died. She narrowly shouted at him for saying such a thing. I'm with Goku on this. Dragon Balls. Thing. It really doesn't matter. Alright, this is not a D&D scenario where we gotta hope and pray we can get a good clerk. This is not a Sailor Moon type of thing where we gotta hope Usagi can actually make it so she can resurrect everybody. The Dragon Balls are right there. I literally could go to an anime store right now and buy myself a Dragon Radar. It had hurt her to hear him talk so lightly about the idea of his own death, as if he thought knowing she could bring him back would somehow nullify the hurt or horror of such a thing. We are literally waiting to come back. She didn't want him to die. She didn't want him to get hurt. She didn't want him dragging their children into something that dangerous, violent world of his. I repeat. Maybe you should have considered that, you annoying. This was probably the first seed of real resentment for her husband, for his lifestyle and attitude. It wouldn't be the last by a long shot. As the years passed and Rosie signed that life she had so often dreamed about in youth was irretrievably tarnished before her very eyes, Chi-Chi grew increasingly obstinate, steadily surlier and more bitter. She gave so much to Goku, doing for him all she believed it was due of her. Yet she received from him no more care or consideration than he might give a particularly friendly stranger. Sometimes I wonder, as much as I love the Vegeta Bulma ship to death, and I do, I think it's the best ship in Dragon Ball, next to Android 18 and Krillin. I do have to ask, was Goku and Chi-Chi really the endgame, Toriyama? Because I could make better arguments for Goku and Bulma than I can for Chi-Chi and Goku. Even more apparent grew to her he did not view her as a wife, or else he did not understand how a man was supposed to treat his wife. I like to direct you to Akira Toriyama's interview where he talked about how Saiyans usually treat their women, and how Vegeta is a rarity. No matter how much she appealed to him, he always laughed to brush off her concerns. No matter what happened, always went right back to fighting. Even after he actually died, he never improved. He never learned. She loved him. That's what really made it so hard to bear. She loved him. Chi-Chi, I'm starting to think you don't love him and just saw him as a baby maker. And yet she was forced time and again to accept her husband was scarcely more than an overgrown child. Every time it seemed like things might finally be changing for the better, some new threat would pop out of the woodwork, and her family would be torn apart all over again. Someone lost or killed or gone away to train in some distant world or plane of existence. It seemed like an endless cycle. It seemed like this would continue until they were all dead beyond the recall of any Dragon Balls. The one relief she had found, the one real shining ray of hope for her, was Gohan. He got married, got a respectable job, made money, and had a child he cared for and doted on the way a parent ought. Chi-Chi, I'm sorry, I noticed something. I noticed you're leaving out somebody here. Interesting. The one real shining ray of hope for her was Gohan. Forgetting somebody? Leaving out a child, are we? I mean, I know Toriyama forgets Goten. I know Super forgets Goten. But, you are Goten's mother. That's no excuse for you. You shouldn't be forgetting about Goten. Gohan is your one shining ray of hope. And what's Goten? Despair? The little guy you could just leave out? And the one real shining ray of hope was Gohan. So, if Gohan, out of character mind you, decided to become a fighter, you would disown him? Because that's the way it's reading, and that's the way it's always seemed like. But then again, I seem to remember you running out, ignoring Goku, and basically deciding that the world could fuck off as long as your little boy was helped, as long as your little boy was safe. You know that you have 2 children, right? I don't fault Gohan for wanting to be a scholar. If he wants to be a scholar, and if he doesn't want to fight, that's his business. And I respect him for that. But I respect it more if I felt like that was Gohan's own decision. Because let's face it, the reason why Gohan is a pacifist and was afraid to fight and practically got his friends killed when he should have known that he had to be ready to fight. It's all on Chi-Chi, because he was afraid of disappointing her. He only became a scholar because she beat it into his head multiple times that he should be it. Again, I don't fault Gohan for wanting to do that. He can retire, he's free to do whatever he wants. But I don't really feel like that was Gohan's decision so much as Chi-Chi, little miss, I'm going to ignore my second son. Yeah. If there's one thing that I hate, that I really despise, it's parental favoritism. It was a joy of her life to see Gohan turn into a decent man, ignoring Goten, to grow up and live a happy, normal life, ignoring Goten. She had given up on Goku and Goten. She had given up on having a peaceful, contented existence with her husband and Goten, the two of them growing old together as they were gradually surrounded by an ever-growing family, and ignoring Goten. Hell, let's not forget, you were training Goten to be a freaking warrior, while Gohan got to grow up to be a pacifist. It frustrated her to no end to realize that some of her happiest years as a mother had been the years when Goku was dead, when he was gone beyond all need of fear and worry. He was a good person in his own way, she knew this. He would fight to the death for those he cared about. But that he had to fight it all, and seemed to care about his wife and children, no more specifically than he did about the friends he scarcely visited, were the heart of her problem. Chi-Chi loved Goku, but damn it all, she didn't hate him. He just wasn't a good husband. He might even give him a pass as a father. Both of his sons seemed to love the man for their part, but to his wife, he was a frustration and barrenness, minor all these years wasted. She was glad to be a mother, proud to be a grandmother. But marrying son Goku might have been her biggest regret. You know, I just realized, for a fic that was meant to deconstruct Goku and Chi-Chi's relationship, I spent a lot of this deconstructing Chi-Chi in period. And I don't think I know why. I hate Chi-Chi a lot. I mean, I don't hate her with every fiber of my being as much as I do some other anime characters. But I hate this bitch so damn much. Even Akira Toriyama hates her. He didn't like the idea of using her. And it's obvious. Look at how she's been written. She's a one-note character. She's a one-joke character. And that joke runs out as welcome real damn quick. But I hate Chi-Chi for more reasons than this. See, I understand what Akira Toriyama gets with going with Goku. He's supposed to be a static, one-note character that enjoys fighting. And yeah, I'm not going to go the DBZ abridged route or even some other people's routes that go, Goku's a bad father! Not really. We see several times in Dragon Ball filler and in the manga, he really does care about Gohan and Goten. We see some really good moments of him spending that year training with Gohan, teaching him stuff, and to be fair, a couple of those times were mainly just because he was dead, and some of those other times were mainly because Goku really thought he was doing the good thing, being an idiot. Yeah, some of those traits might not show him to be the best father, but we see that he cares about him. He cares about Gohan and Goten and understands that you should spend time. Now, don't take me wrong, this is not saying that he's the best father. Oh, no. I still would support Sasuke and Naruto as great fathers over Goku any day of the week. Yes, I know, Sasuke was out training, was off on missions all the time. But so have several other different people. Just because you don't spend every waking hour of your kid does not make you a bad father. Being emotionally distant does. And we have seen several times that Sasuke is whenever he's near Sarada, he cares about that little girl deeply and will show great emotions to her, as well as Sakura in her own ways. And as for Naruto, well, being Hokage is a big job. We see that Naruto does spend some time with his children, but once he became Hokage, that became part of his life, and he's just now starting to learn how to balance both of those. And that's a learning process. So yeah, but still, Goku, I'm not going to say he's the greatest father, but he still shows a lot of caring. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, is a horrible mother. Yeah. Have you ever thought about it? She's overbearing. She shows parental favoritism and has this idealized thought of marriage to the point where she ignores what type of world they live in. And she seems to want to do nothing to help further her relationship with Goku. Nothing. She seems to want to do nothing and make Goku be the one to do all of it. I just... Urgh. And this fic, in a weird way, while I was trying to show Goku being a bad husband, in a way, it shows that Chi-Chi is a bad wife. Because a marriage is all about love, support, acceptance, and helping each other out. If Chi-Chi wanted to be a good wife, she should have actually started training with Goku, assisting him, helping him out more. She should have seen that Goku liked fighting. She should have tried to be more supportive of Gohan rather than just say, "You study or else." I have expected to ask Chi-Chi, or else what? She should be considerate of her husband, and she actually should be willing to take initiative in that relationship. This whole entire thing shows that the only reason why Chi-Chi married Goku was because Goku was a baby maker, and she realized that if she didn't marry soon, she would be an old nag. Boo hoo hoo. Flip you, Chi-Chi. Well, I am hoping you all enjoyed the new microphone. There's one down, thousands more to go. I'll see you next time.